Welcome everybody to this week in Holy Banana Bread. What a week it has been. Wow, it's fantastic to be here once again on another wonderful Sunday afternoon. We got a little bit of news that we'll be getting through here. We're also, of course, and this is your guys' chat. So all your questions, all your comments, those are really important. We'll be hitting those up as well. So without any further ado, actually, before we do, I want to mention one other thing as well. As you're rolling in here, be sure to hit the like button, get that little blue thing going. And remember as well, if you're looking for ways to support the channel, we got a couple of things. We got, first of all, channel memberships. Yesterday, I actually posted out the first channel membership video. So it was more of a behind the scenes type things. It was more of just a conversation. So those will be going out every so often. Those are some of that additional content. So if you're looking to support the channel and you want that additional content, well, become a channel member. Plus, you get your name highlighted in the chat. So that way you don't have that gray look or the black look or whatever color it is that they're showing you. The other little thing is we haven't really been using the super chat that much, but when somebody uses the super chat, I now have this little thing that I'm going to do. I'll do it once here for free for y'all. Basically, it's just going to be like this. Super chat rockstar, super chat rockstar, super chat rockstar. And that is really stupid and embarrassing for me to say it. So if you want to make me have to say it again, you know what you got to do. All right. Now, before we get on as well, I'm just going to quickly say hi to the first few folks that are in the chat. We got Scott from Create, Save, and Invest. Perfect timing. Glad you're here, Scott. Next Saturday, folks, over on Create, Save, and Invest, me and Scott are doing a live stream. We're going to talk about the YouTubes. We're going to talk about what it takes to do YouTube. We're going to talk about that process, monetization, all of that. And of course, we're both in finance, so there's going to be a good helping of finance chat in there too, because I know his audience. His audience wants to know what's going on in the world of finance. So we'll be hitting all of that up next Saturday. I believe it's at 1 p.m. I'll post stuff on both on my community tab, as well as I'll also post some stuff as well on the Facebook group. So if you're not a member of the Facebook group, down below, there's a link over to Mountain Finance over on Facebook. Jump on, come on over. It'll be a lot of fun. And Jill is in the house. Hello, Jill. And Scott's looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The big thing is Create, Save, and Invest. They've been around about the same amount of time as this channel has. We've been growing around the same rate. So, and here's the thing. Right now, I mean, I'm monetized because, you guys all come here and rock it every single week. And now Scott's doing that with some of his live streams. So, we're trying to get him monetized. He's got the subscribers. Doesn't hurt to give him a few more, but he needs a little bit more eyeball time. So, you know what? If you want to check out some of his stuff, maybe watch some of his past live streams before we do our thing together, absolutely head on over to Create, Save, and Invest and do that. All right. And I got Tim Carroll in the house. Hello, Tim. It is fantastic to see you. All right. So our first news story of the day is going to be, no, not Black Friday. We're going to get to Black Friday. Don't worry about that. TD and Canada Post. So TD and Canada Post, they came together. They came up with that partnership so that in rural communities that don't really have access to credit unions and banks, the Canada Post there could offer them lending through through the post office. So it would be a minimum of $1,000 up to a maximum of $30,000. Now, the interest on that was going to be a little bit high, like depending on your credit rating, obviously. You could go all the way up to 20%. So it would be much higher than if you went through a real bank. But in these communities, it may be the only option to really get something without actually heading into a bigger city. So I think that's a fantastic thing. Here's the downside. They've been having some issues with the program. So they've actually put it on pause temporarily. Apparently there's processing issues with the whole process that Canada Post and TD need to work out. So they're working those out. They're going to bring that back, and it will be a way for people, like I said, in rural communities. I don't know if any of you guys are in a rural community who are in that situation. If you are, let me know in the chat or in the comments if you're watching it on the replay, because I'd be kind of curious to know. It's one of these things. I think I know roughly where most people live in, who come by, but I don't know where all of you are. So that would be kind of neat to know. So what have you guys, and here's that other thing too, a 20% loan, that's a lot of interest. So, and that's probably going to get bigger as rate hikes continue. So hopefully hopefully this is just more of a last resort type thing, because I think if you can get a better deal by driving into town, you might be a little bit better off to do that, or driving to a city. We got Jordan in the house. Hello, Jordan. All right. Now, the other big news last week, no, not Black Friday yet, the Fed minutes came out. So the Fed has a meeting, and they publish these meetings every so often, usually every month. What we look at these meetings for is what they say in the minutes, because that gives us a general idea of the actual tone of where the US Fed is and when it comes to rate hikes. Now, this time around, they actually said a few different things that were very positive. They said, first of all, they said smaller rate hikes could be happening soon. This really stoked the market. The market liked this a lot. And what that probably means is that when the December rate hike comes down in the US, and I believe it's on it's on December 13th, you're probably looking at a 50 basis points. And I think already the markets are starting to price that in, because that was very, very bullish. Now, they also did mention the recession word. This is the first time in their minutes they've mentioned recession. And they actually said that a recession is as likely in 2023 as the baseline. So take that as you will. But I think most economists are predicting a recession. I'm predicting a recession. So I think that's kind of a foregone conclusion. But by the time they call the recession, we're probably already on the way out of the recession at that point. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Now, this was still bullish, and we haven't really seen a lot on the TSX. We have seen a lot on the TSX, but we haven't really seen a lot on the American side, for the simple reason that the American stock market was closed for Thanksgiving, and they only had a half day on Black Friday. So how did the TSX react? Well, the power of the news drove the TSX up. As fact, we hit a 5-month high. And it was kind of interesting because where I watch the markets when I'm day trading, it was like the beginning of the day on Thursday and Friday, nice little bump right away, and then flat, because there just wasn't a lot of volume for those days. But that kind of happens when the US market is closed, the Canadian market slows. So that tends to be a trend, but that's fine. It happens. And let's see, we got Bonnie in the house as well. Hi, Bonnie. How are you guys doing? All right. Our next topic is Black Friday. We're going to talk a little bit about Black Friday. First thing I want to know, though, did any of you guys get any good deals on Black Friday? Did you buy anything? And what did you buy? Electronics? Maybe you just bought some stocks for Black Friday. That's a good pick. Or maybe you did something silly. I bought the Millennium Falcon Lego, because I've been looking at it and it was like, nice big discount on it. I'm like, okay, I'll never see it this cheap again. So I was in there for sure. And we've got Riley in the house. Hello, Riley. Good to see you. And yes, I know about Scott. Scott was doing his 100th update video. So he bought 100 shares of DIV to hold for a year to see how it does. Now, DIV, Diversified Royalty, they're a company that I do like. And I actually just recently did a deep dive on them. So if you want to check them out, just check out the deep dive I did on them. I do like them. I hold a fair amount of them. They're a nice little stock with a very half decent dividend, actually. So if you like the dividends and you don't want to spend a lot to get some, DIV may very well be a stock that you like. Yes, and it is nice to see Riley as well. I always find it funny when Riley is when I run into Riley, because one of our cats' names is Riley, so it's kind of funny. Like, I've never seen, like, Riley has his own channel, but I've never seen what Riley actually looks like. So I always imagine, my cat talking. But anyway, that's really silly. Jordan says, just that laptop I got on the Canadian early Black Friday sale, a Chromebook, tough book, the water and drop resistant ones. Oh, those are always fantastic. I like a tough book for that simple reason. Now, I go with Apple products, so I'm certainly all up with my MacBook Pro, but that's more of a business thing because I kind of need it. So anyway, that is fantastic. We got Russell Matthews in the house. Happy Sunday, says Russell. And Russell's been a busy boy lately. If you've been over on his channel, he's been putting a lot of good political, very political related information out. That has just been fantastic. It's kind of one of my guilty pleasures is watching Russell's channel. It's awesome. And Riley said that too. Say hi to your cat for me. I will do that. All right, so back to Black Friday. Here's a really interesting thing. When I think of Black Friday, I usually think about Amazon, because that's where I normally go. I'll go to Amazon, see what deals are up there, see what I can order. I bought the Millennium Falcon off of Amazon, but apparently the tides are changing. So this year in the US, it wasn't Amazon that finished #1 in searches for Black Friday deals. It was Walmart. Walmart has dethroned Amazon, at least for a moment. So that's kind of interesting. And maybe it's a Canada US thing. I never really think to go searching on Walmart, but maybe now I should. I don't know, but I find that really interesting. Now here's another interesting thing too. I was thinking going into Black Friday that people were going to be spending less. Now, we don't have a lot of the retail data yet, but some of the online data has come out. So for the US, online Black Friday sales hit 9.12 billion. Brand new record. It's up 2.3% increase. So people were actually buying more this year. Now, you take it. Some of that is probably because of the inflation prices, because things were costing more. And I just find it really, really interesting that happened. Now, there were an increase in a few different things. The amount of credit being used was higher than normal. And also the amount of people using, buy it now, pay later type services, those were up too. So in a sense, we got a lot of people out there that are kind of like just sort of pushing away the dog because they don't want to get bit now. They want to get bit later. So that's kind of interesting that some people are taking on more debt, and especially with rate hike, with rate increases, of course, your debt's going to cost you more in the future. So I wouldn't really recommend going that route if you can avoid it. But at the same time, I know there are probably families who are like, you know what, I need to give my kids a Christmas, so they don't have a choice. So I can understand that perspective for sure. Brian is in the house. Brian is moving back to the Maritimes very, very, very soon. I can't wait to find out when you get there, Brian. That'll be fun. And Scott says, buy now, pay later is skyrocketing. Yeah, there's a lot of people. And yeah, exactly. Kicking the can down the road. That is exactly what they're doing. So you want to kind of avoid doing that, because it's kind of like that whole thing. Like, if you're cleaning and sweeping up your floor, you don't sweep it all under a rug, because you have to clean that up later. A lot of times you're just making a bigger mess down the road. So that's kind of the way that goes. Jordan says, never trust a third-party seller on Best Buy or Walmart. Toggle your search to store products only. Yes, absolutely. And that's one of those things, even Amazon as well, because you get third parties. Like if let's say you wanted to order, I don't know, a box of bubbly. So you want your bubbly water, and there might be 3 or 4 listings, but some of them may be independent sellers who are just charging whatever they think they can get for them. I've seen some independent sellers find like a unique flavor of bubbly, and they'll put it on Amazon and they'll mark it up because nobody on bubbly has it. So they're like, well, if somebody really wants to try this exotic flavor, they're going to pay for that opportunity. So some people do that. It's one of those things. So, and that's also, if you ever hear when we say, like, for example, when we're talking crypto and we're talking your ledger drive, that's one of the reasons that you shouldn't really buy a ledger drive off of like Amazon. And because if it's coming from a third party seller, they could have done something. They could have, because you can reseal plastic. They could have gone in and they could have, I don't know what they could do, but there's definitely things they could do. They could have hacked it. They could have done different things. So it's not 100% secure. That's what I'm getting to. That's kind of the point. So with something like that, when you're dealing with your crypto and you really don't want to lose it, you want to buy it from the actual manufacturer. So I usually say, if you're going to buy a ledger, buy it from Ledger themselves. Then you know that nobody else is getting their hands on it between them and you. And then you can feel absolutely safe. Mr. Red Taco says, good afternoon, everyone. If you need buy now, pay later, ask yourself, can you eat it? Exactly. It's one of these things where you have to think that, now here, let me just pull this up here for a second. So Ledger has links to their website, has links on their website to Amazon. That's the safest way to buy it if you're unsure. Yeah, exactly. I think you can buy it from Amazon, but by Ledger. And if you're using that link on their site, you're getting, it's not a third-party site that you're going to on Amazon. So it's one of those things just to be aware of. There are a lot of, there's ways you can make money on Amazon as a side hustle. This one guy, I don't know what his name was, but he had found these funky maps. They were some kind of a weird map thing where you could put electronic dots on them. And he found them on a Chinese site, and they were selling them for like $2 a map. So he ordered an insane amount of them and then threw them all up on Amazon. And he was charging like $19.99 or something like that for them. And he was just selling and making crazy amounts. So sometimes you can make some pretty big profits, by reselling that way. That's if that's what you want to do. I always think is it really worth the pain? Because I know myself, anytime I ever order anything from China, I'm lucky if I can see it 2 months later. And I'm not always, I ordered something large once, and I swear they must have thought I meant like a large cat or something. That's how small it was. So it's kind of interesting. Nigel's in the house. Hello, Nigel. It is good to see you. So anyway, that is Black Friday. Now, just sort of slightly related to Black Friday, it is projected this year that Canadians in general are going to spend about 13% less over the holidays. And it's also projected that they're probably going to be using a lot more debt doing so. So that's going back into that whole debt cycle and everything. But the good news is, I think market-wise, the good news is that there's not a lot of stuff between now and the 13th of December that can affect the market. One small thing coming out this week, and that's the jobs report in the US. So that may have an impact, but we'll have to see what that looks like. Let's talk about good old Elon and Twitter here for a moment. So there's been a lot of issues, of course, with Twitter after Elon has taken it over. One of the big issues were, of course, the verified marks. So Elon is bringing them back because he had to stop them, because when he opened up this whole, Twitter Blue, get your marks for $8, all the scammers certainly bought them. And, there was a lot of funny scam accounts out there that looked real until you dug a little bit deeper and realized, oh, this is a scammer and it's not the real thing. So now he's looking to try to fix that. And he says he's bringing it back. I don't think he gave a date. I didn't see a date. Maybe there's a date out there and I just missed it. If you guys know if there's a date, let me know in the chat. But He's talking about a couple of things. One, he's talking about different colors for different types of groups. So individuals will have one color, corporations will have another color, for example. Maybe celebrities will have another color. I'm not sure how exactly that is all going to filter out. But here's the thing. This is a guy who has gotten rid of most of his staff. He's now saying that they're all going to be verified manually, not by AI. So, somebody will physically look at it and verify that your verification is, legitimate. So that'll be interesting, very time consuming. I don't know where he's going to find people to do it, but we will have to see. Jordan mentions the boat rides from China varies way too much for me, not to mention the landing fees. However, buying abandoned sea can contents has benefited me in the past. Yeah, there's a lot of people. You can buy all kinds of different things like abandoned sea, or sometimes you can buy Amazon return pallets and get yourself a whole bunch of interesting stuff. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you can certainly get to. All right. So anyway, that's a little bit on Elon. And I think this is going to be one of these stories that we're going to keep seeing it. Either he's going to run Twitter into the ground, or he's going to amaze us with his end plan for Twitter. So we have to kind of see. Right now, I think it's really hard because Twitter is private. We're not seeing everything that's going on there. So we don't know the full extent of what's actually happening behind the scenes. So it's going to be cool to see how that all turns out. All right, house flipping. So the house flipping tax is going to be beginning in January. So basically, what that is that all homes that you flip within 1 year of purchasing them will be 100% taxable. So the whole goal is to basically prevent people to buy houses and then flip them, causing the housing market to keep on going up. Now the market has been cooling down and coming down, and this is thought that it might help it. But I mean, who's to say if it becomes 100% taxable, maybe the flippers are just going to charge a little bit extra to make up for that extra tax that they have to pay. We'll have to see if that works in the long run. So it's not a bad idea. It might be a step in the right direction, but once again, we kind of have to see how that all turns out. All right, now I want to talk about Bill C-11, but let's talk about something else first. A little bit about doctors. So the whole family doctor thing has been getting out of control, of course, in the country. So some interesting statistics came out this week. So right now, Canada is projected to be short 44,000 physicians by the year 2028. And family doctors are going to make up about 72% of that deficit. And that's according to the Royal Bank, their economics department. They came up with those stats. Now today, apparently, we have roughly 6 million adult Canadians who do not have a family doctor. And that's up because back in 2019, we were at 4.6 million. So it's getting worse when it comes to your family doctors. Patients, a lot of patients who are not able to find the family doctors, where are they going? They're going to the emergency rooms in many cases. And if you think about it, last year in Ontario, we've had emergency rooms shut down because they've been way too busy. Because, they've been getting overwhelmed. And then, of course, you add staffing issues to that. And we got a little bit of a perfect storm when it comes to family doctors. So are any of you guys, let me ask you guys, are you guys waiting for family doctors, or are you guys lucky enough to have family doctors? Is your family doctor old? Because sometimes when they retire, they don't always, even though they like to say, well, I'm going to try to find somebody to take my practice. The reality is there's usually nobody there to take their practice. So I've known people who've had family doctors, and they've been happy and they've had great care. And then their doctor retires and they're then left into this mess with the rest of us who are all looking for a family doctor. Scott says, what's a family doctor? That's funny. It kind of almost is that way. Like, what is a family doctor? We need a better solution for it. So some of the solutions that people have been thinking about is, foreign doctors coming into Canada. A lot of times they'll come into Canada and we won't let them practice medicine. We will just won't recognize their credentials. I actually worked with a woman who was a doctor in, I believe it was Iran. And when she moved to Canada, they refused to acknowledge her credentials. And they said, well, if you take these courses, we'll fast track you to get you up to being a family doctor, but get your medical credentials. But the costs, she couldn't afford them. She ended up in a call center of all places because, it kind of sucks if you study to become a doctor and then because you moved to another country, all of a sudden you end up in a call center. That's, and here we go. This is exactly what I was talking about. So Scott's retired and impossible to find another. Yeah. I know right now I'm on a list. Every so often I get a letter from the list saying, oh, you're still on the list. La, 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 la. It's like, okay, tell me where I'm at on the list. It'd be great if it says, if it's like, okay, you're 304,000 on the list. And then next year, if I get one that says you're 303,000, at least I know I'm making progress. So that would be kind of nice. So please don't get me wrong, but the government shot us in the foot. The influx of refugees plus our already booming student population from overseas plus immigrants equals an overtaxed system. Well, you got to look at it this way, though, Jordan, because as long as when we're bringing immigrants into the country, if we're bringing in doctors, we need to find a way to actually get them working. Even if it's a situation where if we need to update their training a little bit, well, let's do it on our dollar. Let's get them recognized. Let's get them in the system. Let's get them seeing people. Now, there are parts of the country, I'll give you a little bit of take Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia has a shrinking population. So immigration is massively important to try to keep everything together on that part of the country. Now, part of the reason for that is most of the kids in Nova Scotia, they grow up and they move because there's better jobs in the rest of the country. So you get this whole influx out of Nova Scotia. It's almost like they're making kids descend to the rest of the country. And that's kind of that thing that's happened. So with Nova Scotia, if they can get immigrant families in, that's always a good thing. So immigration, yeah, I can see it's easy to look at immigration and sort of think, oh my God, they're eating up all of our resources. There's nothing left for me. But they're also bringing in all of those professionals that are helping keeping the resources going. So you got to look at the whole big picture, and that will sort of give you a general idea on whether or not immigration is whether it's too much, whether it's too little. But I look at it this way: we were all of us have been immigrants at one point, but that's just where I sort of look at it. Let's see. We both have a GP. That is fantastic. All right. And you say immigration doesn't help anyone. It solves nothing but to serve the inbound country. Please reference on YouTube. Okay. Well, and we'll agree to disagree on this a little bit. I think, I think we're a whole society based on immigration. The whole, multicultural mosaic that we have in Canada. That is what it is based on. Everybody who's here, unless you're a native Canadian, then you immigrated here at one point or another. Well, your family, your ancestors. So I'm okay with them. And Jordan says, so we take good doctors from countries that are struggling to have them to begin with. Well, it's not even so much that. I mean, every situation is going to be absolutely specific. It might be a situation where you've got a family who are moving from a country that, is not in the best situation, where they don't have a great living condition. If I lived in a country where there was a horrible living condition and, maybe there was war, maybe there was famine, I would absolutely get on the first boat, plane, whatever I could. If I could immigrate to another country, I'd do it. I think a lot of people would. It's just human nature. So, that's immigration. All right. Bill C-11. We're going to go from that to Bill C-11. So Bill C-11 is pretty much, it's still in the Senate, but we're at the point where it's almost completed its trip through. So what exactly is Bill C-11? So I know YouTube has actually been taking ads out lately on Bill C-11. And that's what brought this to my attention for today. Because YouTube is sort of saying, well, Bill C-11 is going to completely and step on your rights, because it's kind of like what basically Bill C-11 does is it gives the CRTC the ability to regulate social media. So when you look at the bill, from the actual wording in the bill, it basically implies that the CRTC would have the ability to, for a user of, like, let's say YouTube, they'll be able to serve you up with more Canadian stuff than you would normally see. So when you go to do your search, let's say, for example, it's 25% Canadian, then 25% of your results will be from Canadian content creators. So you're going to see more Canadian stuff in your search results, unless, of course, there are some people who will be like, I'm just going to use a VPN because I don't want to be force-fed Canadian stuff. One of the big worries, though, is that how is it going to affect us as creators? And one of the most extreme way that I've heard is that, it's like we'll be forced to make sure our content is Canadian enough to, to be recognized by the CRTC. Otherwise, they won't serve up our content. Now, the CRTC has said they're not planning to do that to creators. But, and I guess this is where the big issue is with the actual wording of the legislation, is that the legislation doesn't preclude them from doing it. Even if they say they won't do it now, they could change their mind at any moment, and the bill would allow them to do that. So that's kind of where people are with that Bill C-11. Now they will say, so for example, you take somebody like myself, I make Canadian content. Most of my viewers are Canadian, so I don't think it would impact me as much. But if I was making a channel that, let's say my target audience was not Canadians, but yet I had Canadians who still enjoyed it, but let's say it was more of an international flavor, in a situation like that, there could be, if they were actually curtailing it, it could be a situation where I don't get as much traffic as I would like to. But until I see this in action, it's going to be one of these things that I don't know how it's going to look. I know the fear mongering that's on YouTube. And I know there's a lot of content creators out there who are just up and sort of worried about it, but I'm not super worried yet. I don't like the bill. I'd rather them make it clearer, but what can you do? And so it's going to be Nickelback all the time. That's it. Absolutely. Every time you search for a music video, you're going to get Nickelback. Now Russell knows a lot more about this than I do, because this is his forte. Now he says it could be a boost for Canadian focused content in terms of views, but at what cost? What if I say something the CRTC doesn't like? I guess we have to trust that they won't take action. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. They say they're not going to, but the bill does, it still gives them that ability to do something if they really want to. So, and that's kind of that one sticking point. Like, I was hoping that while it was in the Senate, they would at least recognize that and maybe throw it back and say, hey, here's a list of amendments for you guys to look at. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're far enough along right now that this probably is going to come through. But if that's something you're interested in, just go. I mean, if you Google Bill C-11 on YouTube, you will get a whole lot of interesting videos that will come up. So, it's just one of those things. I think that just to be aware of it, that something does happen to come up. And if you, if your patterns on YouTube start changing a little bit, it might be C-11. Now, initially, the very first thing I had heard about C-11 is that it was also going to make me receive so many French videos in my searches, and I was like, what? But that already happens now. Occasionally, I'll get served up a French video, or I'll get an English video with French ads on it, and I'm like, why are they doing this? I don't understand French, not well enough to watch an ad. So And Mr. Red Taco says, so it's going to be like radio. Potentially or potentially not. We just have to see how this is actually going to work out. But yeah, I think I it's one of these things. We'll see how it all works out. I'm not happy with it only because it's not clear. I like my legislation to be nice and clear without loopholes so that we know the exact extent of the CRTC's power, for example. Now, an interesting side story. So I'll give you an interesting story here. So back in the olden days, we used to have 3 channels on our television. That's it. So you had like, you had CTV, CBC, and, something else. It was sort of like a community type channel. And as cable got more and more developed, with cable, you could then pick up a few other channels, a few American channels. And this was a lot of the CRTC. The CRTC was basically denying all of these channels that were applying because all of the specialty channels and things, they were like, the CRTC was just like, no, no, no. Well, eventually over in BC, actually, a cable company by the name of Campbell River Television, they basically decided, we're not listening to the CRTC. So they opened their cable network up to all the American specialty channels, and they brought them in. And they basically, the CRTC was really annoyed, and they told them to go pound sand. So the CRTC, in response to this, because they couldn't stop the floodgate over there, they all of a sudden then went through and they started approving all of these channels. So things like the Space Channel and things like, the Home Garden Network and all of this. So that's when there was a big explosion. We went from just a few cable channels and a few regular non-cable channels, and we exploded into all these specialty channels. And it was all in response to this little cable company on Vancouver Island called Campbell River Television, who just decided to say no to the CRTC. I'm actually thankful that they did that because, it made television a lot more interesting. So definitely was pretty good to see. All right, let's get caught up on these comments. Brian is saying hi to Russell, and Russell saying hi to Brian. All right, and we got, I get French YouTube apps sometimes for some reason too. See, I thought, because it seems to me I get more French YouTube ads since I moved to Ottawa, and where there's a lot of bilingualism in Ottawa. That's what I just assumed it was that, but I honestly don't know. Let's see. I get French commercials, and I watched one, and that was a bad idea. Yeah. All right. So the Knowledge Network, all the kids at Super Channel. I remember Super Channel. Fire Log Channel all the time. Absolutely. Hey, and speaking of fire channels, Scott over on Create, Save, and Invest is going to put up a Fire Log channel. He's going to stream it all day on Christmas. Now, mind you, I'm still going to have my live stream on Christmas Day, but it'll be in the morning. But, after that, if you guys want to watch some fire burning, head over to Create, Save, and Invest for that. All the time, exactly. I don't get ads because I pay for the premium, and thank goodness with the amount that I watch. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm on the premium now, but so it was before the premium that I was getting these ads. And let's see, it just sucks for creators because they don't get paid very much for views from premium accounts. That is true. Like when it comes to the monetization on YouTube, I make the most money when people watch ads. If somebody comes in who's got premium, I might get a penny for their view. Like it's quite literally that low. In some cases, it may be a fraction of a penny. I've had where I've gotten a fraction of a penny. So you don't make very much off of YouTube Premium, but YouTube Premium, if you hate ads, that's the way to go. But yeah, normally ads are the way to go. And yeah, so that's it. Firelog for Christmas. Let's see. Russell us in charge of telling me things. Okay. See, that's what happens. We get Russell in the house and Brian gets all Russell happy. Russell is in charge of telling me things. Sometimes I understand them. Yeah, I mean, Russell's a smart cookie. And like I said, check out his channel if you guys are into the political stuff. And he does do finance as well. So he is in our little family. So yeah, definitely do that. All right. Holy banana bread. So that was Bill C-11. So have you guys been hearing the stuff about mortgages? So the Bank of Canada has come out and said that we are at what they call a trigger point. And what that means is that we'll just give you a general idea here. So when you have variable rate mortgages, and that's right now, that's about 1/3 of people in Canada have a variable rate mortgage. And of that 1/3, about 75% of them have what's called fixed payments. So how a fixed payment works is that when the rates rise, it doesn't change your payment because your payment stays the same, but it changes the allocation of how much in that payment is going to interest and how much is going to the principal. So that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind. So when we hear about this trigger rate, what that means is that we've got to the point where that payment does not cover the interest alone. And because of that, then something happens. It's no longer fixed because you're going to have to pay more money to the bank. And that's kind of the situation where we're at right now with the rate hikes, is that we're at a point where we're hitting that, where people who are on this variable fixed are at a point where they're going to have to start paying more money. And that's going to cause a lot of issues for people because people, it's one of these things. I know they actually called the Bank of Canada into the Parliament. I think it was last week. And I know Jeremy, I cannot say his name today. Jagmeet Singh was definitely really, really questioning them about these rate hikes and about, the effect that they're having on Canadians. And it's true. You're looking at a lot of mortgages going up. Right now, if you're into a fixed rate, that's not so bad until you have to renew, and then you're going to look at some things going up. So these rates are still going to be going up probably through most of 2023, but you're not going to see them go up as high. Like you're not in Canada. I doubt we're going to see another one. I don't even think we're going to see another 75 basis points. I think you're going to see 50s and then eventually 25s as we move towards trying to get inflation down to that target rate. So, and hey, Bleak, good to see you. And exactly, as Scott mentions, we're looking at December 7th and the next Bank of Canada increase. Yeah, there is probably going to be a lot more, but I'm thinking for both the Bank of Canada and the Fed, 50 basis points. That's what I'm thinking right now. Now, the only catalyst that could affect things, of course, are those job numbers. But even then, I just don't think. I think they're going to stay. I think they're going to stay at 50, just for the holidays as well. That way, so it doesn't look like they're kind of Scrooging you in the holidays. So that's where I'm thinking. So one of the issues right now as well is with rate hikes going up, with interest going up. We're just getting to a point that people are not being able to afford just their general lifestyle. And it's kind of interesting here as well, because we're just getting to that point where interest is going to be all that you're going to be paying. And you're going to get to a point that you're going to be falling further and further backwards. So we'll have to see how this is all going to work out. Now, the Bank of Canada also came out and they had made a statement, and they really got Jagmeet Singh really jumped on them for this. They made that statement saying that you shouldn't, if you're an employer, you shouldn't raise people's wages very much, because they're afraid that would help lead us into that whole wage price spiral. So where wages go up, it causes inflation to go up. And it sort of keeps going in this big circle. As people keep making more, they spend more, inflation goes up because the demand stays up. So they're kind of worried about that. But honestly, I don't think that's a big concern. I mean, we don't have as many people in unions today as we used to. So I think that's kind of a minor concern, even though It's kind of that thing the bank is always really worried about. But the reality is, if you say, okay, don't raise people's wages because we're afraid of this, and even when inflation does get under control, well, when inflation gets under control, it means that inflation's at 2%. It doesn't mean the prices fall back, to come back and catch you up. It means that if your wages went up 3%, and inflation gets topped, let's say inflation at the worst point is like, say, 8, you're still 5% behind. So it's kind of that whole thing that sort of works at, it. Now, Scott's mentioning here that 50 basis points at the most increases will slow. Yeah, exactly. We're going to start to see the increases tapering out. That's a lifestyle. What's a lifestyle? Broke is a lifestyle. In some cases, yeah. Some cases, getting used to being broke may be that whole thing. Now, people pay a lot of money for a whole bunch of different things. Here's something brand new that you guys may find a little bit unusual. Subscription cars. That's right, subscription cars. What exactly is a subscription car? So Mercedes, so they have a car out right now that they have a subscription service with it. It's basically $1,200 US per year. And what that subscription does is it gives you full access to some of the advanced features of the car. So, for example, if you have it, you'll be able to accelerate faster because you're paying a subscription, and you'll also have better performance, roughly about 24% better performance. So I'm like, okay, this is something that the high-end car manufacturers are doing because people are buying less cars now. So they're trying to find a way to monetize and to make money off of the cars. So here's the funny thing. It's kind of the fact that it's working on the higher end cars. I can actually see this starting to filter down into regular cars. Are you willing to pay? Let me just ask. Let's say you had let's say it was $100 a month. Would you pay $100 a month if it would increase performance on your car? Now, here's what my thought is, depending on what performance. If I would get 24% better gas economy on the car, so it might be worth it. But I just find it funny that they're sort of locking away some of these features so that they can, get more money from you in the future or get an ongoing amount of money coming in. So that is kind of an interesting thing. So are you guys willing to subscribe? I see Jordan's not. I'm not willing to subscribe. I'm a granny driver anyhow. Yeah, it's one of these things. It's like, for me, it's going to be that performance. If I were somebody who drives a lot and that boost in performance would reduce my gas bill by as much as I'm paying the car company, then yeah, maybe I would consider it. But yeah, if you don't drive a lot, I can't see that being a big issue. I mean, do you really need to be able to accelerate faster? Maybe in some key situations, maybe if you're just somebody who really likes to accelerate faster, I don't know. I'm still learning. Here's since we're on that, excuse me, my driving instructor who quit has now come back. So I'm actually getting my original driving instructor on my next lesson, which is tomorrow. Apparently we're going to be doing swerving stuff. So that'll be kind of interesting, but it's kind of interesting just that I'm thinking he quit. He went out and just didn't have a good time out there and then decided to come back. I don't know. I'm going to hopefully find out the story tomorrow because he does like to talk quite a bit. In which case, I'll let you guys know what's going on there. But yeah, my driving instructor it's been a drama. It's been complete drama in there. Let's see. If it impacts a reduction in emissions, don't tell the environmentalists. They go nuts with that info. Okay. Let's see. Elon. Did Elon fire him? No, I don't think so. I don't think he worked for Twitter, but unless he got a job at Twitter, left the car manufacturer, and then Elon fired him. So I heard an interesting story about Elon. Apparently, one of his administrative women that had worked for him for years had asked for a raise once. And he apparently told her, and take this with a grain of salt, because, I don't have 100% verification on whether it's true. It's just something that was in a news article. Apparently, he told her to take 2 weeks off so that he could, he could get an idea of how much he missed her while she was away. And so he did her job for 2 weeks, between everything else he does. So when she got back, he then fired her and said, no, it was easy to handle what you do every 2 weeks. We don't need to pay you anymore. So I don't know if that's true or not. It's kind of one of those things you have to you have to sift through all of these stories on the internet, because as much as it sounds like he might do something like that, it's really hard to tell. It's, it's kind of interesting that way. So, all right. We got a couple little stories left. And of course, if you guys had any questions or stuff, just throw them in chat and we'll hit those too. The leap second. Have you guys heard about the leap second? So basically, the Earth normally spins, exactly 24 hours in a day. But what happens is, because of things like the tides and the water hitting the land, it can slow the Earth a tiny bit. So it's not exactly, there's like a tiny, 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 tiny fraction of a second that it slows the Earth down. So what ends up happening is there's a group, they're called the International Bureau of Weights and Measures. So every so often they calculate when a leap second needs to be added to get time all back to normal. Well, here's the problem. Every time they add that second, a lot of electronic type people, they just start going crazy, and it causes them issues. I think there's been a few things. I think Samsung has complained, and a few other different, electronic type organizations. I can't remember all of them, but that's the whole funny thing. So they've actually met, and they have finally come up with an idea. They're going to abolish the leap second. Now, they did vote for it, and as of 2035, the leap second is taking a hiatus until 2135, when they planned to have a new system in place. So we don't know what the new system will look like, whether it'll be a situation where they just keep saving these leap seconds up until they get to a whole minute, and then we'll just have a leap minute. So, stop time for a minute or something so people can prepare for it. I find it really interesting. So we do have a leap second going away in 2035, and then you won't see it again till 2135 or whatever replaces it. So, enjoy the leap second while you can. There probably will be at least one more that pops before 2035. So that's kind of interesting. So Jill says, if I buy a product, I don't want to have to pay to optimize it on a monthly basis. That's ridiculous. That should be part of the product. When I buy it, there's always going to be upgrades. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's what I was saying. The only situation where I would do it is if it actually saved me money. So, you guys know with me, it's all about the math. All right, last story. So small business confidence. So according to the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, small business confidence has been plummeting. And they are citing a lot of the, the unhappy businesses have been saying that it's all due to two big factors: rising costs and labor shortages. And what's also interesting is that 71% of businesses say the top factor limiting business growth is, of course, fuel and energy costs, followed by that shortage of skilled, so 53%, and semi-unskilled workers, 38%. So it's all about, like I said, the costs. They're starting to sort of drive a lot of the smaller businesses under. And I think, a couple of weeks ago, we had covered as well just the amount of bankruptcies that have been declared. It's just ridiculous. So you're seeing the death of the small business. If I had a small business, I would think I would probably move towards getting as much of my stuff online as possible, because I think that's where kind of the future is for business. I can't recall the last time I've gone to a store to shop. Like, quite literally. It's probably before the pandemic. I buy everything online, and I know a lot of people who do that. So it's kind of an interesting. See, oh, here we go. So if the user experience sucks, I pay less and I'm skilled. I watched a YouTube video and stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. Holy banana bread. That's kind of cool. I don't know if I've ever stayed at a Holiday Inn. I probably have. I've stayed at different hotels, but you know, it's still. And Scott here says, yeah, same here. Everything online or curbside still. Yeah, like even at the point now, like, you know, I mean, me and Jill, we've been ordering all of our groceries, having them delivered as well. So it's kind of like it'll be weird when I do get a car after I get my license. It's like we need to drive someplace, but where do we want to drive to? You know, because everything is brought to us practically, but it's still one of those things. Oh, that was sarcasm. Okay. Awesome. I didn't suspect that, but now I do. Curbside groceries is such a time saver. It really is. I mean, you know, I haven't been to a mall in 3 years. Yeah, who goes to malls anymore? I mean, I remember as a kid, like especially around the holidays, holy banana bread. It's like you were in a sardine can trying to squeeze through all of the people. But now it's like super easy. You just go online. The only problem is it's so easy to buy online. At least going to the retail mall, you were limited by how much you could carry. Once your arms were full, you're done shopping. Not so online. It's just, oh, another couple buttons and bang, bang, bang. You know, we've hit you again, and there we go. So that's kind of a fun little thing. Anyway, that's kind of online versus retail. So I don't think it's ever going to change now. I think people, and this is the thing, I think with the pandemic, people are really, really understanding how much e-commerce, how much more convenient it is. And it's really interesting too. I was watching some videos from Meet Kevin, and he was talking about his Black Friday experience. So he went out into the malls to see how things were. He was like, yeah, they did seem to be a little bit lower, or a little bit less people than normal. But yet online, they're breaking records. And I think that's it. I think if you're looking at the retail stores, yeah, I think Black Friday probably was absolutely dismal for them. But if you're looking at online, yeah, that, you know, those internet tubes were just stuffed with shopping carts. So that's kind of the interesting things. And so I shop in person and make my own carts. Okay. That's kind of funny. And Bonnie says the only online shopping issue is all the friggin' boxes and garbage. Oh, yes. My backyard right now is basically a sea of boxes because cardboard day is Tuesday, and we just went through Black Friday, so more boxes. And you know, I always like this as a challenge. Can we spend enough, not enough, but can we spend a lower amount so that we only have one black box full of cardboard? I'm happy on the weeks we only have one black box full of cardboard. So I even bought my cell phone on one, so I didn't have to go to the store. Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't think I've ever bought. Well, the last time I bought a cell phone in a store, it was a flip phone. Just to give you a general idea, that's how long it has been. Ever since then, I've always ordered online everything, like all my computer stuff, everything. Ordered it online. I think the only thing is we're looking to get some new furniture for the living room, and we may have to actually go to, or I don't even know. I think we can order that online too. So I just don't think I'll probably ever see the inside of a store again, at least unless it's like a real specialty store or something. But yeah, that's kind of the way it is. All right, so we're coming up towards the end, guys. If you got any more questions, throw them in so that I can hit them out of the park for you. Also keep in mind, don't forget, if you guys have not hit that like button, just slam that really quickly. Also, Just put that out there. If you're looking for the exclusive content, and the first exclusive video did drop yesterday, channel members is the place to be for that. I'm not going to be, and I sort of explained this yesterday in that video as well, that I am not going to be giving them stuff that I'm not giving you. So if, for example, I do something on a stock over on that, I'm going to probably still do it for you guys too. So it just means that they'll get to see it a little bit sooner. But most of it is going to be behind the scenes stuff. They're probably going to get to see me do a little bit of my day trading. Yesterday, it was more or less, we just had a quick little conversation. I also want to start, once I've got a few community members, maybe just do an extra little live stream here and there for the community folk, and just give them as well the opportunity to really put a lot of input into what's going on the channel. So that, anyway, that's the community members. Always welcome to get a few more of you in there and get it going. Yeah. All right. Now, last question. All right. So last question, Santa rally this year. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes to a Santa rally. I think we're going to see a half decent September on the market. I think December, not September. I think December is going to be overall a green month. So looking forward to a Santa rally. I think that'll be a great way for us to all to experience Christmas this year. So that'll be fantastic. Yeah, so I guess that's all I have for you guys today. Just give you an idea. Tomorrow's video is going to be, it's the same as last week, but instead of the large cap stocks, we're looking at the mid cap stocks. And I will mention, I didn't limit it like I did last week. Last week, I limited to only one per sector, only because you don't have as many stocks that are profitable in your mid cap as what you have in the large cap. So I kind of wanted to, at least get that out. And then I've got a deep dive coming on Thursday. And what is it? Oh, yes. So Thursday's deep dive this week is AQN. So yeah, Algonquin Power. A lot of people have been talking about it. Like, okay, well, it's a really great buy right now because it's down, but is it a great buy? Is Algonquin Power, like I got out of Algonquin Power a while back because I was a little bit iffy on their fundamentals then. So we'll have to see if that has changed. And one last thing before we go, my buddy has come to say hi. Come on. There you go. So she saved it to the end to make an appearance this time. So everybody, this is Autumn, the new kitten. She's a rambunctious kitten. She doesn't do the stock market yet, but I'm going to try to train her to do that. All right, everybody. Also, before I'm done, remember as well, over on Create, Save, and Invest, we got that live stream next Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern. And me and Scott are going to talk about the YouTubes and some finance. I think it's going to be a fantastic stream. So, head over, just do a search on Create, Save, Invest, or wait until I put up the links. I'll put links up this week. I will promote the banana bread out of this thing. So, come on over, enjoy us. It'll be fun. And I think I need a drink, but that's cool. So that's it for today. Everybody have a fantastic afternoon. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. And I think, the next live stream, we're in December. So it's full speed to the holidays. So I'll talk about it as well, what we got going on for the holidays. Oh, I'll do that right now. Before I go, we got the 12 days of Christmas that I'm doing. They're going to be 12 shorts. They're going to be the companies that you guys choose. So if you have not yet put your stock picks in, do that. You need to do it over on the Facebook page. You can do it on the bottom of any one of my videos in the comments. Do it on the comments in this one. Just say, hey, here are my 3 favorite stocks, Candace, and I will add them into the mix. Because then I'm going to count down on the 12 days of Christmas, starting from, your 12th, the community's 12 favorite stocks, and we're going to see what they are. So these ones are not based on anything except for you guys. All right. Anyway, that is it for today. So I will see you guys all later. Thank you for being here and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.